Today's topic are the stages of maturity. Many things happen in babyhood. We acclimatize to this dimension. We learn language. We learn how to recognize faces, who our family is, or caregivers, the people taking care of us. We learn how to gravitate towards them, and we learn how to dress and just do really basic things, except that they're really complicated to learn them later. Like if we learned a language later, it would feel a little bit more complicated. But in babyhood, we absorb things like a sponge, and the challenge of babyhood is that we don't remember this stage usually. Like we might start having memories around 2, 3, fragmented memories for most people, and it's tough to address things that need healing from babyhood because we don't have the memory of those things. So for anyone who was abandoned, or they were abused or neglected, or they were adopted, they might have a challenge understanding their their issues later because they can't remember the cause. And the next stage of maturity is childhood. Childhood is a time of a little bit more autonomy, like we can run around more, we can explore things a little bit more independently, and we are curious, we want to play, we want to socialize often, like we want to meet other kids, we want to do like creative things and athletic things, and just explore our bodies, explore our minds and our kind of like our social ways and language, and we're just developing, like, you know, feeding ourselves and going to the bathroom and all those things. And childhood, again, one of the challenges of childhood is that we often skip over. So we might remember many things from childhood, but for some reason as adults, we often skip over those things, or we don't necessarily reflect on them, or we don't think about how our childhood experiences are necessarily shaping or affecting our current life situation. And the next stage is teenagehood, and teenagehood is often a time of rebellion, of trying to carve out an identity, of recognizing the importance of the social group outside of the family. Friends become more important, and yeah, people want to be like part of a group, and they want to like dress a certain way, and they want to act a certain way or whatever. So it's like a rebellion and like a carving out of an identity. And teenagehood is usually when like we can look back and be like, oh, okay, I can see how like a lot of teenagers start drinking at that age, dating at that age, and like we can see how like some of our adult challenges and issues start to develop in teenagehood a little bit more clearly for most people. And then we move into young adulthood. Adulthood is like where we have more independence. We may not be living at home with parents or caregivers, and it's a time of exploring in an adult way. So like working at different places, spending time with different communities, and doing like, you know, having more goal-oriented things like, oh, I'm going to try to learn this dance, or I'm going to try to learn this language, or something like that. So there's a lot of exploration. when young adults are working and dating and like, you know, they're hanging out with maybe trying like different groups of friends than they had in high school, and they are exploring wherever they live. They're more independent. They might be more financially independent. They might be more socially independent at this age. And this is when we start to kind of recognize our challenges as adults, like where we start realizing like, okay, you know, it's tougher to invest in a certain area or a certain direction than expected. You know, like sometimes teenagers are like, I would do this and I would do that, and there's like kind of idealism. But then as young adults, sometimes when we're actually out in like the adult world and we're with like grown-ups doing things and we're navigating, we might have like kind of like this pullback. A lot of young adults have this pullback where they like want to hang out with people their age, and like they still want to like be cool and dress a certain way and whatever. And that's kind of like a pullback to teenagehood because of realizing that adulthood is not necessarily, you know, what we perceive that it might be, and what we hoped for. And so, yeah, so young adulthood is kind of like that dance where we might be avoiding responsibility still, and we might be over exploring and being like, you know, more risk taking and silly and things like that. So then we move into adulthood, and adulthood is when we have explored, we've lived in different places, maybe we've traveled, we've worked in different industries, we've had different crowds of friends, we've dated different people. And then adulthood is when we decide on direction. So we choose a path, we choose a direction that we want to invest in consistently over time. And that means in our home, we have like, you know, maybe we have an idea of the kind of feel that we want our home to be, or what we want our home to inspire in us. And so we invest in that area. We have a direction at work that we want to invest in. We might have a kind of relationship that we want to invest in. We have health goals that we want to invest in over time. So adulthood is when we actually start investing in specific ways and specific areas so that we can see the growth over time and watch things expand and learn and all of that. Okay, so now we are a grown-up, and we're moving into the later stages, like the later stages of mental and emotional development. So the next stage that most people want to enter, is some kind of partnership. They want to have an intimate partner, they want to get married, or they want to live with someone. Many people enter that stage. And in partnership, it's about, we've like went through our different stages, we've practiced at life, and now we want to actually build with someone because two heads are better than one, because we want to have like bigger results. So for people who are entering partnership stage, that if a person has gone through each of their stages and they've allowed the development in each stage to be fully experienced, then when they get to the partnership stage, they can be at a place where being in partnership makes their health better. It makes their home situation better. It makes their career actually more successful. And so when people, like, it's really common that people enter partnership and then decline. They become just like many things in their life go downward, and that's usually because a previous stage wasn't fully learned or fully experienced yet. And so a person is coming into partnership with only part of their development happening, and then part of them neglected or part of them fractured. So partnership can be really complicated because a lot of people don't even like start to really assess like what's going on with them and what happened in their childhood and whatever else until they are like in a later stage, and they want like something to work, they want something to flourish, and it's like not happening the way that they expected, and then they become like a little bit more self-reflective. And often in this stage, people start families, or they think about how they can contribute more and how they can be more part of a community and enter like a highly productive state, whether that is that they're gonna create more people and they're gonna have kids, or they are being much more productive at work, they're being much more giving to their community, and they just like become like part of kind of like a bigger not like crowd, because like young people can be part of a big crowd, but when people are older and like they're contributing in a way where it's impacting more people. That's what I mean to say. So when we enter that like contribution and production, that's like when we are in our like full flow and we're taking on as much responsibility as possible. We are investing consistently. We know ourselves enough to do that. We are able to like keep ourselves in a fairly good state so that we can contribute and be in like an optimal performance place. And as we invest over time, we may enter leadership, like leadership at work or leadership at a church, or leadership like in the family, where like people see that, okay, this couple is really good at investing, and they kind of take on like a leadership role in their community. And as if people have kids, like as they grow older, when the kids are a little bit more independent, then people often enter a stage of being more of an advisor with their family, like with their kids, and also at work, and also in community and at church and wherever else people go. They enter the kind of matured stage of being a leader, being a parent, being a mentor, being an advisor, someone who like people look to see like how to do things and how to get things done, and that's like when we have more responsibility, and also people expect more from us. And once we pass that stage, and usually this is when like people's kids are grown up and they're like also in partnership and they're contributing, then grown-ups enter a stage of being an elder. So they're like, often their lifestyle calms down. People come see them instead of them being out in community constantly. Now people come see them like on appointment, and they're in an elder stage, so they're full of life stories, and their lifestyle is calm, and they appreciate the little things. They appreciate each meal that they have, and the time that they spend with loved ones. And so that's the last stage of maturity, is being an elder and hopefully passing on like all of your stories and all of your life experience onto the younger people, spending time with the kids, spending time with the teenagers, and the young people just starting to do their career and date and all of that, and like passing on like the wisdom and through storytelling, through writing, through sharing in a variety of ways. And so so those are the stages of maturity, and it's important that we actually go through each stage and we actually embrace each stage. And when we miss something, like when we miss something in childhood and we become aware of it when we're older, or we miss something in teenagehood, it's important to like not become destructive and like try to be a kid again or try to be a teenager again, but just incorporate a little bit of what we missed out on in a life-giving way in our current lifestyle, so that we can graduate that